Can't stop.
Won't stop.
Won't stop.
Till killer cops.
Or in cell blocks.
Can't stop.
Can't stop.
The following newly released video portrays an incident of assault and violence at the hands of police. Viewer discretion is advised.
I suggest you back the fuck up.
No, why you do that? Why would you do that?
This is Baltimore City Police Officer Jorge Bernardez Ruiz. In a newly released video shot in 2016, Ruiz is seen with his knee on the back of an unknown man with a gun pointed at the man's head. His message was a clear one. Concerned onlookers, adhere to my dictates or else. Here, we can hear Ruiz saying to Baltimore residents,
I suggest you back the fuck up.
It is documented that Baltimore police officer Jorge Bernardez Ruiz is a repeat violent offender, even without access to all complaints against Ruiz, undisclosed by BPD Internal Affairs records. 6 cases involving Ruiz are known. This video will briefly highlight 6 total cases beginning in July of 2013. Case 1, Abdul Salam, July 1st, 2013. Here Salam is seen victoriously smiling in celebration after the jury found Ruiz and 2 other cops liable for brutality against him. However, because the trial was civil, not criminal, Ruiz was not fired and he did not go to jail.
Police profiled me. They followed me in the back of my house, harassing me. Police proceeded to violently and hostilely approach my van with me and my son in it. As I announced, this was my home, guns drawn. Once they reached my vehicle, they violently pulled me out, ramshacked my vehicle with my 3-year-old son strapped in his car seat, threw me against the gate, slammed me repeatedly. Picked me up by my feet, and while I'm upside down, they proceeded to drop me on my head, hog-tie me, and immediately when I fell on my head, Ruiz, in a wrestling type of action, and kind of hit his knee against my neck. I was arrested. I had no idea what I was being arrested for. My son is scarred to this day. He remembers the incident as it happened yesterday. When he talks about it, he always refers to Daddy being on the floor with police yesterday.
Case 2, Darrell Harris, profiled, as seen in this video, July 17th, 2013.
Yeah, Sid, what's wrong with it? Improper way with it. There's no such thing as an improper way.
You gonna tell me my job, bro?
I know the law.
Are you gonna tell me the law?
I know the law.
You gonna tell me the law?
I know the law. What's the problem? You giving me a ticket? You need my license registration?
Yeah, let me get it up.
Profile, y'all use the seatbelt as a reason. Profile.
Sir, do me a favor, take out your keys.
Yeah, you can record for what? Nah. I don't feel safe right now. Do you want me to step out the car? Do you want me to step out the car? I'll step out the car. Call the police, man. What do you call a supervisor? I won't do shit. This is getting uploaded to the internet right now. Yeah?
And we are 2 law-abiding citizens that we're getting targeted, and I don't know why.
Just 24 hours later, Bernardez Ruiz played a leading role in the police killing of unarmed Tyrone West. Case number 3, the murder of Tyrone West, July 18th, 2013.
My brother Tyrone West was brutally murdered on July the 18th, 2013.
In both of these cases, when you look at the pleadings and the harsh language of these officers that have been quoted to me by reliable witnesses, the N-word.
And Killer Ruiz and Killer Chapman and the rest of those 11 or 15 killers, including David Lewis, took something from my family that they could never give us again. And that was my brother Tyrone West, one unarmed man who was brutally murdered, beat to death in broad daylight.
Mic check, mic check. This is West Wednesday number 452. We are calling for Justice Tyrone West for all victims of police violence. Mic check, mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Awesome. So thank you guys for tuning in. And like my brother Ben said, this is West Wednesday, week 452. And tonight we're bringing back our special guest, Miss Jamila, we had on last week. And she shared a lot of things, but she didn't get to share enough. And we definitely going to, and that's why I felt compelled to give her a part 2. Because to me, she's a very important queen. She's the sister of Erica. And we all know that Erica is a family member of Emmett Till. And she was fighting for Emmett Till's legacy and things of that nature. Just not even just that, but just fighting for all type of, situations that affect us. And I'm just so glad that we have our sister in Q tonight that's going to definitely share some other things that she wasn't able to share on last week. So I'm really excited about that. But before we go to our special guest, and I'm sorry you guys are not going to be able to see her beautiful face this time. And that's why we were a little bit late, because we were experiencing some technical difficulties and whatnot. But it didn't stop anything. So you will be hearing her. So I'm glad that she's in Q tonight. But I just want to share before we go to our sister queen, I wanted to talk about the latest news that I heard this morning before I went to work, and it really bothered me so much. And it was another unarmed man in his house. Mom called, he was having a mental health crisis issue type of situation. Mom called 911, and she just probably pretty much wanted her son to, go to the hospital type of thing, be treated. But what happened, and they released the video today, and in case you guys don't know who I'm talking about 20-year-old, and it's a Crawford man, 20-year-old, I believe his name is Dante Cross, if I'm saying it correctly, I hope I am. But nevertheless, even though in the video that you see where they cut it, but pretty much he was having a mental health crisis, and mom called 911, and the call was in regards to, she was saying that he wouldn't let her come from out of her room type of thing. And from there, from the media, because we don't even know if it's true or not, because we haven't spoke to mom, and my heart just goes out to her. I'm praying for her and all that. But from the media is pretty much reporting. They're saying that she wanted them to kick open her door. It was okay for them to bust down her door. So we don't know if that's a false narrative or not. So, and trust me, I don't believe anything the media puts out there. Sorry, but not sorry. But, the media has lots of ways to fabricate the truth, to get these killer cops off, to make everything fit into their narrative. But anyway, as the media reported, that mom pretty much gave, 911, told 911 to let them know that the officers could kick down her door. That sounds kind of weird, but anyway, they go inside her house, they kick down her front door, and they go in there, and then you see on the video, the victim pretty much came out of, I don't know if it was a room, a closet, but you see him, and he has on no shirt, okay? So that clearly shows that he's completely unarmed. He comes out, and then they start tasing him, and at that point, he starts swinging. You get bucks through your body or whatever. So, but as the media reported that he resisted, that's what they always say. But nevertheless, and then a tussle ensued. The officer, they claimed, was placing him in cuffs and whatnot, and they claimed that he bit the officer's finger. But at this point, the man is in cuffs, and then you gun him down, and they're like, "Oh, we're not going to show you the part." Like they care about what we see now. They didn't care when they showed us the 18-year-old, that was gunned down, that was driving his vehicle. But they, Miss Cersei said, "Oh, we're not going to show the part." Of course you're not going to show the part, because then that will let us see what truly happened, not the part that you got to defend the narrative and the situation. But I'm only sharing this to show you that. And a lot of people say, "Well, you know what? He went too far. He bit the officer." That's still not justification for an execution. That is not justification for an execution. And I'm quite sure when mom called 911, those were not her thoughts or plans to have her son executed. And it said that you cannot make a 911 call when suffering from a mental illness and expect to get treated fairly, or someone to come in the home and subdue your child or yourself in such a manner that will not cause you harm, will not be life-threatening, but just will take you to a hospital so you can get treated and then, come back and you still have your life. But they're quick to justify that foolishness. They're saying now they're currently and actively investigating, which we know is a bunch of foolishness. But anyway, I want to talk about this beautiful sister. It was another sister. She was in Dallas, Texas, and her name was Jacqueline. And she was dog sitting. And unfortunately, the most horrible thing happened. This beautiful queen pretty much was molded by two, and I can't remember the types of dogs they were, but she was molded by two dogs or whatever. But they pretty much ripped her whole entire face off, okay? Face gone. She's dog sitting or whatnot. Face gone. They bit her over 800 times. Now, how I know this, they showed the body cam footage. And the body cam footage shows you the perfect restraint that these animals that literally, I'm talking about, she was inches away from losing her life. And her poor mom had to tell the tale of how they had to resuscitate her daughter because she pretty much went out when she was on the operating table. But they revived her and whatnot. But you talking about beyond life-threatening, and you got these animals that are going buck wild. Anytime they did this brutal attack 800 times, but none time did they shoot any one of those animals. And so my point of saying, and I think one of the dog's name was Benjer, if I'm saying that correctly, but Benjer's life is more important than Mr. Crawl's life. That is disgusting to me. So I don't want to hear no crap about a grown man getting bit by another young man, and to the point that you wanted to retaliate that bad that you run. We don't even know how many times how many bullets that he put inside of him. I guarantee you it wasn't one. And even if it was one, shame on that killer cop. And it's disgusting, the way they justify things. They're like, oh, well, they shouldn't have resisted. No, they shouldn't be such violent animals, okay? And I'm talking about the police officers that's supposed to serve and protect. And I'm not saying for people to, go and resist or go try to shoot or kill a cop. That's not my message at all. But I do know that some folks suffer from mental health crisis. And the thing is, if you can restrain from deadly animals in a brutal, heinous attack against a young, helpless woman, pretty much had the door not been unopened because I think the animals were going back and forth and they triggered off the alarm. This young lady, I guarantee you, would have been gone. This young lady would have been gone. And this is so sad and disgusting that she even said that the dog sitter never even finished paying her, and he didn't put his animals to sleep. But the interesting part, like I said, the restraint of these killer cops, they was like, and then for the media to say, we commend the officers for taking such restraint, and it's just sad, but if y'all could take restraint for killer dogs that are on attack, I'm talking about attack mode, and even the sign on the door, and that's what her attorney is trying to point out, that this is just really sad because on their sign on the door, they got the welcome mat, but one of their signs that were posted, I'm going to share the video with you guys tonight. I promise I'm going to share it because someone shared it in my inbox. But nevertheless, the sign on their door said, beware dangerous dogs or something along the line, letting you know that these were dangerous dogs. And if 800 times and taking a whole young lady's face completely off to the point that said she's going to have to get not 1 year, but 2 years of surgery. And they actually took pieces of skin from her buttocks and things of that nature just to try to, and it's just so sad. And I thank God that her fiance stuck around and is with her because she stuck with him when he was going through cancer. And he was saying how she was driving him. And it is a beautiful, sad story. But my point of saying all this, do not let the media tell you that it is okay for these killer cops to say this word. I fear for my goddamn life. And you kill an unarmed person. And even in instance where sometimes mental health people go through crisis where sometimes they might have a knife in their hand, they might have a weapon. They might even go so far as to having a gun in their hand and they're not even using it. Probably won't even work. But what I'm saying is, do you have to take them out, take their life completely away and you get off with it? That is disgusting. That is sad and shameful. And then literally, I was looking at one of our, like, because you know, we're around a time that election time is on the rouse. We have the state's attorney see this up. But it's just really sad and sickening. Like everything is just a big, to me, I call it the poop show. I'm trying to keep it clean. It's the poop show right now. And it's just sad. And they pretty much sway what they want to happen. You know, and it's just sad. But at the end of the day, who are suffering? Because at the end of the day, the homicide rate is out of control. And what they're trying to do is make it seem like all of this stuff is isolated incidents and all this stuff. And then they use things like the crime. They use our pain for their gain. You know, they don't care about a black woman, a black child, or a man getting murdered, depending on what neighborhood. They don't give a damn. Because that's clearly, see, they don't even put up money to get suspect. It's always an unknown shooter, and that they shut the book, and that's the end of that. And then the family are stuck with trying to play the investigator and things like that. And then, of course, we always see that when the criminal is a African American person, they have no problem with showing their face at all times, all day long. That's all you see. But yet, when the suspect is a Caucasian person, you will never see their face. And if you do see it, it's a little snippet, real quick, covered up. You know, and it's just sad and disgusting. But we need to change that. And it's just sad, no matter how many times that my brother's case, Tyrone West, who was murdered, and you saw that video, you saw Ruiz on there doing what he do, and this animal is still working to this day. And that's why we say we demand answers. We demand answers, and more than answers, we demand damn accountability. The reason why we're saying, let's be clear, I don't just want an answer, I want accountability. But in order for us to get accountability with that answer, and we're waiting for Marilyn Mosby to give us that answer, that if she's not going to prosecute these 17 killer cops or not, and that way we can move forward and move on and take this from a whole nother angle. That's why I say we need answers. That's the start to accountability. But we need more than just answers. We need accountability. We demand that. We demand accountability. And it's just sad, and I think about, because I just see my beautiful sister Nicole join us, and she is the daughter-in-law of Anthony Anderson, who was murdered a whole year before my brother was murdered. And this man was murdered literally in front of his mother's face, his grandbaby's face, and his daughter's face. Like, who deserves to be murdered? And the saddest part about it all is nobody has been held accountable. The medical examiner's office even concluded that Anthony Anderson died from a homicide. It was a homicide. And what did the racist Greg Bernstein do? He said, you know what? It was a homicide, but I'm not doing anything. He laughed in Anthony Anderson's son's face and family's face, his wife's face. He laughed at them. He laughed at them. He did the same exact thing in my family's face. When Tyrone West was murdered, he told my family not to get comfortable in their chair, that it would get, that, you know, that we had to leave his office. And he even, if that wasn't heartbreaking enough to tell us he wasn't going to do a damn thing to murder us, he had the nerve to call the police on my family. How disrespectful was that? And they said, we're giving you a direct order to leave this building. And then he had the nerve to call a press conference without my family being present. You invite my family to break my family heart, and then you wait 154 days after he was murdered. You didn't even do no investigation, because at that moment when he met with her, he still didn't have answers from Morgan State University, which was David Killer Lewis, the one that played a real crucial part in my brother's murder, because he was the one to finish my brother off. Let's be clear, each and every one of those big, huge women, men, all of them played a direct part into my brother's assassination by kicking them, stomping them, torturing them, tasing them, pepper spraying, doing the most. Let's be crystal clear, doing the most to murder one unarmed man for a goddamn traffic stop. Nobody's life deserves to stop for a traffic stop. But if that wasn't enough, in like my family case, but in Anthony Anderson's family case, I couldn't imagine the pain that my beautiful sister Nicole went through. And I'm gonna let her share after we bring my sister Jamila in. But she had to bury her baby 2 weeks later. Now you're fighting, you're with your hubby, and you're fighting for accountability, trying to be there for him, and you know, just going through a horrible time of your life, not your life, because when you become married, y'all become one. So y'all going through a whole horrible time, right? And trying to stay fit and things of that nature. And then your baby girl, your 16-year-old daughter is murdered in cold blood, in cold freaking blood. And they still don't have accountability for that. And that is sickening and disgusting and heartbreaking to me. So that's why I say we have to be real clear in who we put in office. Everybody want to run for these seats, but they don't want to do their damn jobs. And the saddest part is, even though I don't like Marilyn Mosby, because I don't like what she's doing. I don't dislike her as a woman, because I love every black queen, everybody, right? But the fact that you turn your back on my family, who's been seeking accountability, and you know we ain't never miss a beat. I'm not asking you to break no law, I ain't asking you to do me no favor. I'm asking you to do your job, you know. But the saddest part is, because she dropped these low-level cases, right? Because she knew that these low-level crimes was the reason why Tyrone West got murdered. And a lot of these brothers and sisters get murdered for that zero tolerance foolishness. And that's what they're trying to bring back right now. They don't give a damn about these crimes. They're trying to do what they do, and that's to wipe us out on all levels, okay? So I can go on all night, but I'm not going to, because again, I want to bring my sister Queen Jamila up, and then followed by Jamila, I will bring my sister Nicole in. But as we listen and tune in, I want to also let you guys know my sister Angela, and I'm talking about the sister of Timothy Flemings, still has not received an autopsy report. How disrespectful is that? I know how horrible that felt, waiting 154 days for them to give my family something that was so important that we needed for some type of accountability or some type of answers. It will never be closure. Let's be clear. It will never be closure. It will never be closure. I'm sorry, it will never be closure. But just some type of accountability, you know, we waited 154 days to get lives, but the fact that her family, and we're going on almost a whole year since Timothy Flemings was executed, and the saddest part about it is no accountability. How disrespectful was that? And whoever that was, and whoever sent you to hit my Facebook up just the other day, whoever it is that's trying to mess with cameras outside of my home, my voice is telling you guys the truth. You know, I never lied to you guys. You know, I feel like they are trying to set me up. I don't know what type of way, and it may sound crazy, y'all, but I don't care. The truth needs no support, okay? Because when you fight this dirty system, they come back dirtier for you. Let's be crystal clear. They come back dirtier for you, because if they can't buy you off, they will try to silence you in one way or the other. They will even make up criminal charges. You know, do your research. Okay? Let's look at Keith Davis Jr. because he was almost gunned down, murdered. You know what I mean? But he survived. So the thing is, if they don't kill you, they will burn you alive. And that is sad. That is real. That is our reality that we live in each and every day, unfortunately. That is our reality, that when we come on here and we have nothing to gain, nobody's paying us for this, none of this. We don't got nothing. Like, we're just literally coming from our hearts. Like, I just worked a hard day at work and I'm slaving and I'm trying to hold on to my job title for whatever reason. Now all of a sudden it's back in the spotlight again. And it gets interesting because every time, you know, and I just looked at the fact of when Abdul Salam was pretty much almost executed and I had to go to his court trials. I went through a whole trial of its own that after I left that courtroom, that's when my trial began. Just because I was strong enough and woman enough to step by my brother, you know, just to get accountability. And I was trying to see if the jurors will make it right, because the saddest part and it was sad because his case was pretty much washed down to a civil case, just like my brother's case. That ain't no goddamn accountability. That's foolishness. That is no accountability. My brother's children, his beautiful children, his grandchildren, my family, we deserve accountability. Nicole family deserves accountability. Timothy Fleming's family, all the victims of police brutality and murder, and even these victims that are getting murdered every day, right? You ain't even safe going to your store, going to the store. You're not safe in your bedroom. You're not safe at church. You're not safe at school. Where in the hell are we safe in America? Please tell me, so I can find that safe haven, pack up my stuff, take my family, and just go. If it was that easy, we'd have been gone. But however, it is not. And I ain't going no damn where. I don't care how much you try to intimidate me. I don't care what you do. Guess what? I'm going to keep on, because guess what? The truth needs no support. I don't have to prove who I am. My work speaks for itself. My integrity, my honesty, my values, all of that speaks for itself. So you can say what you want to say. You can do what you want to do, but I'm going to do God's work. I never asked for this. This is a club that nobody signs up for. I would love to have my normal life before 2013. I would love to go back to the good old days where my grandmother was here, my brother was here, the first one born in my family, a father. I would love to go back to those good old days. I would love to go back to when me and Tavon Anderson, my cousin, who was freaking murdered, and my family still don't have no damn answers yet. I would love to go back to when Tavon Anderson was here to comfort me and laugh and joke and say, hey, Tavon, you're doing a good time. You know you're doing a good job, and laugh at our good times. That's why I'm just stuck in time right now. That's why I said time, because I miss the time with my family. I miss my Uncle Dynamite, who's no longer here, which AKA Uncle Clifton, who used to be out there. I'm saying my family that was on the front line fighting with us, now all of a sudden they are gone. You know, how many more family members? Is it going to be me next? Like, who's next? Like, we need accountability, and we need it now. So I'm going to bring on my sister queen, Jamila, and I thank you for, coming back and joining me. She's going to tell you a reason, like, and pretty much what ties it in. I talked to her briefly because we didn't get into a long, that conversation. But when this queen hit me back up, and she was saying she didn't get to pour out everything she wanted to pour out, just in respect for the show, this platform. And I'm like, you know what? As long as we're not disrespecting nobody or talking about like sex, race, it's cool. As long as, but when you start like attacking somebody for their sex and their race and all that, then I do have a problem. I do have a problem because I love everybody, you know. But the fact that how she is being mistreated is disgusting. When we should honor these queens, I talk about giving people flowers while they're here. Don't talk about someone's relative that was so powerful in the movement, and then you turn your back on them. That is horrible to me and heartbreaking, and I know how it feels. I know how it feels, because we done had plenty of doors shut in my family face. Plenty of doors, so I know how that feels. But no further ado, my sister has a story that she wants to share with us. So I'm going to do a mic check, and you're going to listen and tune into our sister queen, Jamila. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Awesome, queen. The floor is all yours.
Thank you, Tawanda. Boy, that was a lot to take in. Where do I start? Because when you speak of, first of all, somebody coming to you and trying to set you up and mess with you and talk and mess with the things that you have going on just because you're telling your truth, that's disgusting. To me, it's because people, I found it weird that after our interview, I received a request from Deborah Watts on my Facebook page trying to be my friend.
Wow.
And I said, well, that's weird that I would get a request from her when I done reached out to her so many times. I said, well, you know, people try to intervene. Even tonight, the devil is busy. And he don't want to see you do the right thing. You know, he is always available. I said, well, why would I get a request now? You know, I said, well, this got to be somebody trying to stop me from telling my story. And I won't stop. And I'm not going to stop. I don't care how many people want to hack into my Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, because I will recreate another one. I am not computer illiterate. My thing is, no matter how I speak, when I talk about, from the first session, Keith Bishop, Beauchamp from New York City, who wrote the Injustice Files. And I was sharing with you, Tawanda, I reached out to him after my sister passed because he was right there shoulder to shoulder explaining to me how he missed her and how much he loved her. For you all that may not know that is on here, she passed March the 20th. 2020, March 21st, 2020, and this past Monday sets two years that she's been gone, and it's so painful for me. It feels like yesterday, you know. But getting back to Keith, when I reached out to him, he wanted to tell me how much he loved her and how much he adored her and how much he supported him and his organization and things that he had going on, and he missed her. And I reached out, as I said in the first episode, how I reached out to Deborah Watts and got the door slammed in my face. And when you speak about the doors being slammed in my face, I'm not going to let that stop me from still telling my story. Yes, it has kind of been, you know, you wonder all these organizations that you reach out to, they say, oh, I love this person or I had this person back. And how I sit back and I've been watching how these people have just stabbed a knife in each other's back. You know, Samira Rice was another family a person that I reached out to. And you know, she went after Sean King, and she went after that other girl so bad that she wanted to tell her story to say, I'm sick of people misusing our families and taking their money and doing and promising. You know, Tawanda, you shared with me the promises that people make, and we're hurting one another. And it's, you know, with gun violence, with the police, it's killing us up. And when I talk about Keith, that was personal for me. It's because I encountered him personally, one-on-one. And I said, well, you know, if I can't reach anybody, nobody understands me or would, you know, let my voice be heard, I know Keith would understand. And for him to tuck his tail like a dog after encountering with him and run right on over there with Deborah Watts, and I see him on events with her, you know, it was like, I looked at social media to see exactly how many people remembered her on Monday. I was so shocked to see how many people didn't even mention her name with all the people that she crossed. And that angers me because I go back to what I put on y'all social media page with The Wire 98.5, where she had that interview with Jay. And she talked about how she was the sole heir of the Emmett Till Foundation, sole heir of Mamie. And how after she passed, it was supposed to be passed, given right back to Ali. And how Ali and Willa are the people that you're supposed to go to. And how Will Smith and Jay-Z, you know, they had this works in order. And how my sister talked about how all these different organizations and all these different people and these film directors did not reach out to who they were supposed to reach out to, or even ask for approval of the works that they are doing. And they're not giving back to the organizations that are out here with their feet on the ground, doing the work and making the sacrifices to the protesters that don't even share the same DNA. I share the same DNA, but I am that bitch to tell the truth.
Yes.
Because the truth will set you free sooner or later. And the fact that, you know, when I reached out to Al Sharpton for the Voters' Rights March this past summer, I was encountered with one of his board members, who supposed to be my sister's best friend when she was living, Mary Parnell. And I don't know if you all ever heard of Victoria Parnell, who is her daughter. And she has done a lot of things. But I reached out to the staff, and the staff was going to put me up in the travel lodge. They were sending for me to be part of the voters, to be there with everyone else. In less than a day and a half for me to get on the plane and do what I needed to do to get there, they had put me on the VIP list and everything. Less than a day before it was time for me to get there, that was shut down. And NAN is an organization that my sister stood firmly with. And I said, so what is it that I'm doing? Or who am I intimidating that don't want me to be just like you, Tawana? You are representing your brother. My sister may not have died of gun violence, but she died of a kidney disease, and she died working hard, busting her ass.
Yes.
For organizations and for these different people that stabbed her and stabbed Ali and stabbed Willa in the back.
And I'm glad, sis, that you got the strength and that you are sharing that, because it's so true. And it's just sad, like, how we get blackballed. Because I remember, when somebody that was working close hand with Jay-Z, and they reached out to me, and they were doing a documentary series. And I was like, oh, my God, this is the ultimate documentary that my family needs. Like, my brother's name will be known worldwide. You get what I'm saying? Like, this is it.
Right.
And, like, I literally, they were saying, like, how they was going to follow me to my school, watch my class graduate, and I got all my parents to sign release forms to saying that it was okay for them to come to the graduation and do this exclusive interview about me and, how I fight for my brother, even though, I work and all that stuff. And then literally 2 days before it was supposed to go down, I wasn't even good enough to get a call. Like, I'm talking back and forth with this lady, all the whole time. 2 days before, 48 hours, she goes, sends me an email. Now it goes to, I'm waiting, and our parents are waiting, like we all waiting. And we get this email. And I still have this email to the day. I'm so sorry, Miss Jones. I can't get into details, but unfortunately we're not going to be able to do it. And I'm like, what happened? Like, I wanted to know, like, what in the world happened? Like, where did it go wrong again? And she was like, well, it just was she said, from a higher call, we just can't tell you and get into details. I'm so sorry. And that was it. That was the end. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So I know what you mean. And then you mentioned Al Sharpton. Like, oh my God, like, he is ridiculous. He's a poverty pimp, and I'm going to say this is not West Coalition. This is Tawanda Jones saying it. This is me. He is a poverty pimp. And the fact that how I know this is because I felt like I said this adventure for me has felt like I was Dorothy, and I'm looking for the ruby red slippers and things of that nature. Maybe that's why I like the color red. But I'm all searching around for on the real side. I'm looking for accountability. And I remember my brother first was murdered, and nobody seemed like, and I kept on saying, all we got to do, if we can get it on a national level, people could come in and see that my brother was murdered. Like, Greg Bernstein is not going to disrespect my family like this. And so I thought about him being this revolutionary.
That's right. If a keep to sit up there and promise you something, if they promise that they would help with the accountability, and I thought around and don't do what they say they're going to do. At first I was so angry with Samira Rice, the way she handled Tamika Mallory, and the way she handled King Sean, and how she went after their pockets and saying, hey, we tired of the clout chasing. And now I see what my sister's talking about. It's because you shouldn't, all these different people that I have reached out to that have the ability to open doors don't want to open the doors or do the things that they're supposed to do when it comes to helping our families get accountability for their loved ones. It's all about this money. It's all about being seen in front of the media. And it's all about saying, I'm glad that my sister made Lil Wayne an example. Made him an example of, hey, you're not going to go and make a lyric, beat that pussy up like Emmett Till and think that it's okay and ruin the history. You're not going to do that. You know, and because she's no longer a voice, you know, these folks want to now, oh, I got the money. I done sued all these different places, so I can do whatever I want to do. And I can just treat people however I want to treat them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just like, you know, I was mentioning that I saw Mr. Michael Shannon Riggs on our last post, and he said he's friends with the one who wrote The Woman of the Movement. You know, I have been in contact with Mr. S. Anderson, and he wrote The Murder That Shocked the World that the Women of the Movement is based off of. You know, because I shared with him, I said, well, Mr. Venom, you all that mentioned Mr. Venom name that's here in Memphis, Tennessee. I said, I know the man who runs that organization. That's one of the places that they put Mamie Till up. That when Mamie traveled from Chicago through Memphis, Tennessee, that was one of the houses she lived at. And he said, yeah, I wish they would have mentioned his name as well. He said, I mentioned the name in my book, but they just didn't say his name when they did the script. And I said, well, I wish they would have done that because that's an important factor because this organization is still going on here in Memphis and they still do walk for gun violence and they help a lot of people here in Memphis, Tennessee. And they have supported the Young Dolph case that was shot 22 times. It wasn't 21 times to Wanda. It was 22 times that he was shot.
Wow. Wow. Yes.
So, yes, I'm angry as hell because I don't understand how somebody such as yourself and so many protesters, all the way from the people that supported the George Floyd family that's winding up in jail and getting killed and getting hurt, and these lives that are gone have been sacrificed don't matter, or the work that they have done, even John Lewis, you know, it doesn't make any sense. When I say it don't make no sense to me, when I spoke about unity, we all want to shout unity, we all want to express unity, but we are not living it.
Yep. You ain't never lied. But see, they know how to play the divide and conquer game. And it's just so sad, and that's what they do. They don't just play it on this front. They play it on the workplace. They want to divide and conquer. They play it in every field, and it's up to us to unify. And I'm right now, I feel like I'm only unifying with those that want to unify me. I'm not chasing no people. I'm not. I'm just not doing it. Like, I could care, you know, I care about everybody, but the thing is, like, it's easy for us to pull together, and then that's why, so when you see, like, when cities pull together, when somebody get murdered and they start shutting things down, they fear that. They fear that. Let's be clear, they fear that. That's why they play the divide and conquer game. They use that mighty old dollar bill to do it. And people will sell you out for 2 cents. Ain't gotta be $2. They will sell you out for 2 pennies, 2 brown pennies. They will sell you out. And it's just sad. It's disgusting. And people that are really genuine, that's not selling their soul and don't have nothing to lose, but they chains, that's the ones they want to shut down and blackball and do all this stuff. But it is what it is.
And I'm one of those. I can't afford to get on an airplane or a bus or jump in the car and travel to all these different places. Oh, y'all probably would have seen my face a long time ago, but before now. Or, you know, I had to use the tools that I have available to be able to tell my story. And I am amazed of the people that I've reached thus far. But at the end of the day, I said, well, okay, you got all these different organizations and all these different people that I've talked to, you know, and why you know, you lock up those that have really put in the work, and you've killed the police, you know, when, for example, Breonna Taylor, when they was down there marching, they locked up 87 people, including Portia from the Housewives that's on TV, with Tamika Mallory. All of them was there together. And they locked up 87 people, the police did, to make an example. They want to shut folks down and stop them from telling their stories. I'm going to tell my story. I don't have a pot to piss in and don't have shit to give you, but I have a voice, and my voice is important to me, and whether it's important to you or anybody else. Because at the end of the day, right is right. And I sat there and listened to my sister talk about how these people are getting over, how they constantly getting over, you know, and even with Ollie saying that they didn't even do her death records correctly. We don't know if she really died of heart disease. We don't do because it was during the pandemic. We don't know if she really died of from COVID or was she killed in the hospital.
Yeah,
She didn't get no really accurate records of my sister's death, and they gave her what she wanted. They wanted to give her, and Ali had no other choice but to accept it. You know, I listened to my sister on the 98.5 on the wire talk about. She told how she used to motivate Ali to get up and speak up because Ali is losing strength. And Ali don't have to say she don't want me to speak up for her or she don't want me to tell the truth. Right. In my spirit, my sister speaking to me from the grave to say, Jamila, you tell the story. You know, there was so much that I told in your ear that I didn't share with nobody else. So now it's time for you to share it to the world. I pass you the torch.
Amen. I appreciate that because, like I said, this is real. Like I'm not doing this for no personal gain. I do this from my heart, and it needs to be done. And I just wish we had so many more sisters and queens like you and kings too, because it's just sad. Like people will sell you out, and it's just not right. And the most powerful thing that you do have is your voice, and they know that. That's more powerful than a gun. That's more powerful than a mighty old dollar. That is your truth, and can't nobody change that. They can't edit it. They can't do anything but accept it. Accept it. And it's just disgusting. So I'm just glad that, and I'm so honored, you know, and I'm sad that I couldn't, you know, I didn't meet you when I met your sister, you know, but I'm glad I'm in contact with you now, and I'm not going to lose contact with you. You know, like people that I meet, once we meet, we're going to be in it for a lifetime. It don't stop here, you know.
It don't stop. Ain't going to stop.
It do not stop here. It's just sad. And like you said, I'm glad you pointed that out about you don't know how your sister died, and that's real, because I just look at poor Mal Reeves, who was a king fighting in Minneapolis, the biggest voice out there that wasn't selling his soul and wasn't trying to get a dollar bill, wasn't doing nothing, and mysteriously he died from COVID this year. Like really, he in the hospital doing interviews. That's why I don't trust doctors. I don't trust these people interviewing us. I don't trust none of that, because it said we don't mean nothing while we here, but as soon as you die, then they want to open up streets. They want to say, oh, you was this, you was that. What about while you're here now? What are we now? What are we now? And that's disgusting, but I want you to stay tuned because I want you to meet my sister, Nicole. Nicole, this is our queen, Jamila. I'm sorry you can't see her beautiful face.
Hey, Nicole, how are you?
Yes. So, Nicole, I want, before you start sharing your story, I want to check in and see if our brother Marcellus is here to read these comments. I see a bunch of comments. The board is split up, and I want to get feedback from my queen sister who can't see us, but she definitely can hear us. I want to get some feedback from Marcellus. How you doing, Marcellus, this evening? Mic check.
Mic check.
We can't hear you, brother.
Mic check, I'm here.
No, we can't hear you, but our brother Marcellus, we can't. I see him, but we can't hear him. And this is fun. It's interesting when you have an important show, how they play like all of a sudden night sis, now you back for part 2. We can't see you, gotta come through the audio. Now my brother here to read the question to you, we can't hear him. It's interesting. It really is. So we're waiting on Marcellus. Marcellus, can you hear us? Yeah, he can hear us. He nodded, so I don't know what's going on in his head. But just jump on when you're available. But just for time's sake, while Marcellus is trying to get his equipment and things together, that's very interesting because he always, no problem, you can get on here and say something. So it's real interesting. It's hilarious to me. But you might can mute us here on this internet through all this technology, but you can't stop us from telling our truth. You can shut it down right now. I don't care. They ain't gonna stop me. I go out by myself.
Right.
And tell the truth. I don't need no argument. I don't need any of that. It's good to have support, but I don't need it. I was born in this world by myself. I'm going out by myself, and I go to these streets by myself if need be. I don't need it, but thank God we are family and we keeping it moving. But Nicole, introduce yourself, and you can go into, you know, your horrible and, you know, I'm sorry that the things that you're going through, and you're another one of my sheroes because the fact, like, I know how it feels to lose a brother who was like a mother, my best friend, my church buddy, my father. He was everything wrapped up into one. But I don't ever want nobody feel like to lose a child. I don't care how old my children get, whatever. I want when it's my time, hopefully it ain't no time soon, but my children to send me off. I don't ever want to go through that type of pain. I don't ever. So I commend any mother, that's going through, and I'm so sorry. My heart goes out, but sis, the floor is all yours. Mic check.
Mic check. Well, for those who don't know, I'm Nicole Pettiford. I'm the daughter-in-law of Anthony Anderson. My husband is Marcus Pettiford. The sad part about losing my father-in-law is that I never got to meet him. The first time that I laid eyes on this man was in his casket. And I'm out here fighting a fight for a person that I never met, but I love so much. And I know that sounds weird. It doesn't sound like something that a person would say on a normal basis, but I do love my father-in-law, and I want his name to always be lifted up. Now, in 2012, on September the 21st, my father-in-law was brutally beat to death by Baltimore City Police. He had a ruptured spleen. All his ribs was broken. He had blunt force trauma to the head. It was horrible. And like my queen said, this was done in front of his mother, his granddaughter, his daughter, and a multitude of other people, friends and neighbors and stuff, who weren't allowed to help this man. They held this man on the ground, posted up by one of the police officers' legs for 3 hours and wouldn't allow the paramedics to come in and assist him, whereas though it's possible that he could have lived if they would have let the paramedics through to assist this man. And my husband was at work at the time when this happened, and he gets a phone call from his sister. I'm at home. So he calls me and he said, he's crying. I can't understand him really. And he's like, baby, they killed him. I said, killed who? He said, my father. I said, who killed your father? He was like, the police. And it's like, at that instant, my whole body went numb. It was like, you see this stuff on television, you hear it all the time, you hear people speaking about it, but to actually be directly involved in it is the most disgusting, horrible, terrifying experience that you could ever have in your life. And I'm here trying to be strong for my husband and hold his hand, give him my shoulder to cry on, when 2 weeks later, I'm at home, and I get a phone call from my daughter's girlfriend saying, Miss Nicole, I have some horrible news to tell you. And I'm like, girl, this ain't no soap opera. Tell me what's going on. She said, Miss Nicole, somebody shot your daughter and killed her. Excuse me? I was in such disbelief. I dropped the phone and I went back in the kitchen and continued to make my husband and my daughter something to eat because I didn't believe it. But my husband picked up the phone and he talked to her. And when he walked in that kitchen and I saw the look on his face, I knew right then and there it was true. So I had to go from being strong for my husband to trying to be strong for my other children who had to hear about this horrible incident that happened to their sister. My daughter was 16 years old, never got a chance to do anything in life. And Tawanda knows because I've sang quite a few times on here, I couldn't hold a candle to my daughter's voice. That's how beautiful her voice was. And to know that I'll never hear her sing again. And I do it because I'm shining through my daughter to let her voice be heard, although she's not here anymore. So that's why I sing. That's why I try to be strong. And I could have been one of those types of people who turned all this negative energy and just went out here and started killing people, not caring. You know, I don't It doesn't matter to me what happened to anybody else because it's all about me. But no, I didn't do that. I tried to give back to the community by me and my husband owning a semi-pro football team in Baltimore City. And we do this to try to get some of these guys off the streets. I am so sick and tired of my sons and brothers and uncles and fathers either being put in a cage or being put in the ground because of these police. And then we're committing genocide because we're killing each other off just as fast. And you know what these police say when you do this? Oh, that's just one less nigga I got to chase down the alley. Excuse my French. But I have to put it out there and I have to let it be known. I have to give it to you raw on the way that they think about us. They just throw a white sheet over us and they keep it moving. They don't care about how much this affects us, how much this hurts and everything. And people fail to realize the one thing: what happens to one person doesn't just affect that person, it affects everyone around them. You know, I didn't meet Tawanda until I met her through her West Wednesday. She's become my sister, my friend. You know, she gives me inspiration. She helps me to stay strong and continue to fight this fight. But unfortunately, I had to meet her this way. I wish and I pray to God that I would have never had to meet this woman under these circumstances. But we had to become family from something so negative, something so hateful. It doesn't make any sense. And for it to be a 2-week radius between my father-in-law getting killed and my daughter getting killed on the streets. So I've had the experience of both sides. And it's hard. It is hard. It's been 10 years. It's still some nights I can't sleep. It's still some days I can't eat. It's still some days when my heart is so full of hatred and anger and fear and sadness. And I got all these emotions mixed up into one, but I got to shake it off. And I got to try to be strong because I don't want this to happen to anybody else because it's horrible. And I wouldn't wish this feeling on my worst enemy because it hurts. And no matter how much I cry, no matter how much I pray, no matter how much I speak, I'm never going to get my loved ones back again. I'm never going to hear my daughter's voice again. I'm never going to get the opportunity to meet my father-in-law because of somebody else's selfish, disgusting actions took something away from me that I can never get back. And forgive me for the tears because...
Oh no, you don't have to be sorry about your tears. I wish I could wipe them for you, Queen. You don't have to be sorry for anything. I'm giving you a big virtual hug right now. I'm so sorry, Queen. I'm so sorry.
It's so hard, Tawanda. It's so hard. And I know you know exactly. I know everybody that's watching this, everybody that's on here that has gone through this knows exactly how I feel. And it just feels good and it fills my heart to know that I can speak to people that are also going through what I'm going through. And there's no judgment here. Nobody is saying, oh, it's been 10 years. You need to get over it. There is no time limit on grieving. There's no time limit on hurt. I have a hole in my heart that will never be filled again. Even if I was to get married again and have another father-in-law, it's still not going to bring back the one that I lost. If me and my husband was to have a child, it's still not going to bring back the one that I lost. You know, and I just want to thank everybody on here for listening to my story, for giving me the opportunity to have a voice, to be able to speak loud and proud, and do not let Anthony Anderson or Ajay Harad's name die. Thank y'all.
Thank you. We definitely will never let Ajay Harad or Anthony Anderson's name die. And again, I'm so sorry, my queen. I know, like, you know, it could be really emotional, but I want you to breathe and just know that your daughter, as well as your father-in-law, are very super proud of you. And not only them, I'm super proud of you. The West Coalition, we are super proud of you. Super delighted that we are family. You know, we are going to get through this. As painful as it is, we just got to know that as beautiful as this life can be, and sometimes it can seem ugly, it is a gift from God, you know, or a higher power, whatever you believe. And as for me, being a Christian woman, and I'm not forcing my belief on anyone, but it's a gift from God, you know, to wake up and to get that reset button. But you know, it's just a blessing to be amongst so many beautiful people. I had a horrible time this week, didn't know anything, and I waking up with migraines, going to sleep with migraine, had a migraine all day. But it's us as a West Coalition family. It's Adina, it's Hillary, it's y'all for me. You know, it's the sweet things that y'all do, and it ain't even about material items. It's about just wanting to uplift somebody's spirit when you know they hurting. Like when we hurt, when one of us hurt, we all hurt. Like right now, I'm hurting with you, sis. I'm hurting with you, and I'm so sorry. But just know that your baby is proud of you, and just know that if it's God will, that we will see our loved ones again. We will. You know, I just feel like the God we serve is a good one, and I don't think He would have us meet a family that we love and then we go through that pain of losing them, whether they was murdered, whether they were sick, no matter how they passed away, but just to lose them and not ever see them ever again. So I feel like our life is an opportunity to do what God wants us to do, regardless of because there's lots of times where as though when life smacked me in the face, I want to straight give up and be like, you know what, you want to be this way, goodbye, see you later, I'm out. But guess what? I hold on because guess what? I know it's on purpose. I know it's God's will. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I don't understand. I'll be questioning God because, hey, that's my father. I can ask him anything. That's my father. But I want to say, you know what? A lot of people, oh, you can't question God. I question my God. I'm like, how do you allow these cruel people to do this stuff? But then the God inside of me tells me that, you know, everything happens for a reason. We may not understand it, but guess what? It's something called karma that hits everybody. And what you put out in this atmosphere, whether you believe in God or whatever or not, you get it back some type of way. And I don't wish bad luck or anything. I wish good vibes.
Say that, Wanda. Say that. And that's why I made it my business to write Biden in the White House. My name is not important to so many others out here in the world, but I got a response back from the White House when I wrote about that Emmett Till anti-lynching act. I sure did got a response back and made sure I posted it. It's because, the George Floyd case, the George Floyd Police Act. We need both of those acts signed. So some of these folks that get up off these streets and these police officers have behind these badges that think it's okay to shoot us and kill us like flies, like we nobody, and then sit up and laugh at it like it's funny. You know, and I can't have no mercy or feel sorry for those, just like Carolyn Bryant. The suffering that her husband, that Bryant went through, losing their business and the deaths that they had in their family and the karma that they received. I'm sorry, my heart don't feel good to say I can feel for you that happened to you because karma exists and you still walking around here like you're not the main person who caused the issue.
And that's the truth, sis. It's just sad because, like a lot of people, when I look at being in this fight for going on 9 years, this July the 18th will be 9 years of my family going through hell. But everybody that sat in my family face, that had an opportunity to right this wrong, to make it right, just to hold folks accountable. That's all we ask. We ask for no favors, but each and every one of them that laughed, that joked, that took it, they going through their own stuff. And every time they do, I always say, God forgive me, think about Tyrone West. Think about that. Think about Anthony Anderson. Think about Timothy Fleming. Think about all the victims. Think about it. Like, think about what you do. Like, because every time when I go through a bad day, I think about, damn, first thing I think about, did I ever do somebody that mean to get this stuff that I'm getting? Then I think of the God, oh no, you ain't do nothing. This evil person. That's their will. That's what they want to do. Don't even entertain it. You be who you are. You keep it pushing. And that's what keep me going. I sleep good at night. Even though some nights I have restless nights because of all this pain. you know, that involves around fighting for accountability. It seems like we gotta fight for every goddamn thing. We gotta fight for the air we breathe. We gotta fight for everything. When will we ever?
People move on from one, if you don't mind me saying this, Miss Nicole, my heart is, I stand in solidarity with you, sweetheart. I can't feel the pain of losing. I mean, I do feel the pain of losing a sister the way that I've lost one, and I share with you that. Would you say the in-law that you all really just didn't know each other? You know, I didn't meet my sister until I was 18 years old. I didn't know about her because when I say I advocate for domestic violence, I watched my mother get murdered in front of me when I was 6 years old. And, you know, her case, she never got justice for the murder of how she was murdered that I speak about in my book, Accounts Duty. So I stand in solidarity with you, Miss Nicole, and I feel your pain tonight. Well, you brought me tears, and I haven't cried in a little while, but you brought me in tears to share your story, and it has touched me, and I just had to say that.
Thank you so much, sister.
So I'm gonna check in real quick, Queens, real fast, just to see if Marcellus, because we got a lot of comments. Like,
wow.
It up. So let's check back in with Marcellus to see if everything's working. Marcellus, can you hear us? Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
The devil real busy tonight, I tell you. Real busy. But that just shows when the devil get busy, that just shows like when you going through trials and tribulations, I'm telling you, something good about to happen. That's right. That's what gives me strength, because I feel like with all the negativity that's
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yes, we hear you. Yes.
Okay, I had to go in and fix the settings. All right, mic check.
Mic
check.
All right, so starting from the beginning, Nelson says, no justice, no peace. Hillary says, mic check, all clear on Facebook. Nelson says, mic check. AC Britt on YouTube says, mic check. The media definitely pushes a falsified police narrative. They're duly unqualified to handle mental health crisis. Bruce says, mic check, good evening all. Bruce also says on YouTube, definitely agree with handling mental health crisis situations. AC says, and you didn't even get a real one because of Fowler claiming undetermined. TNT Taylor says, good evening, everyone. Speak, sis. AC Britt says, Sharpton is a trauma vulture. Jamila is speaking the truth. Nelson says, yes, you have a voice. Mic check. Kenneth Clark says, always remember that the slave catchers police their own selves. I am tired of them. Anson Osaka says, so sad. Kalia says, I adore your strength, Nicole. And AC Britt says, love to Nicole. Mic check.
Mic check. Yeah. And thank you, Marcellus, for that. Definitely thank you for that. And before we go to these sad lists, just real quick, I wanted to ask my sister, because Jamila, you don't know, this sister has a beautiful voice. And every time she sings my favorite song, it gives me chills. And I know that her singing, I want her to leave. Like, I don't want her to leave here from this platform. And I don't even want you, sis, because I heard you, Jamila, say that she made you cry. So I don't want us to leave like in tears and all that. And we're about to hear this horrible sad list. And tonight we have
ma'am, she did, and I'm still in tears. It's because I didn't understand, like I said in the first one, I didn't understand the pain or you know, because I was young and dumb and wasn't educated when my sister was fighting. You know, it took me some time to build that relationship with her and then going through that relationship with her and us getting to know each other, I didn't care about the justice or injustice. I just looked at her as my sister. But now that I have learned all these things and you put all these things together, it's painful to sit up here and watch these families going through what they're going through. And, it's story after story after story. It hurts. It hurts that, that the Emmett Till 1955 is still going on today. And people don't recognize. And that breaks my heart. And like when I looked at that documentary,
and I learned new things that I never knew. Like I heard about it, but then I didn't even realize he was that young, and to actually see it. It just like I cried and I cried and I cried. And then the crazy part, again, the system will use your pain for their game because I was watching it on cable and it kept on charging me $5.99. It showed me like 2 episodes for free, but then it kept on charging. And it got to the point I ran my tab up a little bit and I'm like, damn, so I gotta go back and finish watching it. I'm like, but it's just sad that like, and I got up to the part where you know, when the mom went and she was like, I'm gonna fight, and she got his body sent back and all that stuff against all odds. And then I got to the part where they were riding through, and they was like, this is where whatever part or city that they was riding through, they was saying like the Klans members was known for being there, and it was kind of scared. And I got to the part where they actually got pulled over by some type of state troop or cop, and then they come up and they asked me for an additional $5.99, and I was up like 5 o'clock in the morning, like, oh my God, I gotta get up about an hour and go to work. So I never finished watching it, but you know, it's just sad. But like you said, sis, you couldn't have said it no more clear. We are still in Emmett Till times right now. We're still in Emmett Till times right now, 2020, and that's the part that really breaks my heart the most. Like, that's just sad. Like, but I just commend, you know, just all the work and everything, and I commend you for being who you are and your voice being heard, and I'm just praying that if you can keep on this fight, like keep it up, keep up the good work. It's hard, it's not rewarding for us, like ain't nobody gonna give you nothing, but the fact that you're giving us, you know, nothing but the truth, you're helping somebody, you're saving somebody. And I'm glad you mentioned something too, and this is off, but you mentioned something about you deal with domestic violence. I have a personal friend of mine that wanted like some help because they're going through a situation. So I will talk to you offline and see if you can get me some resources so I can share with this queen to help her family. So yeah. All right, so Nicole, do you have a song for us tonight? And if you don't, I truly understand. I truly understand. But I know you're singing. Look at you smiling already like a Christmas tree. I see that beautiful smile.
You know I'm going to sing your favorite song.
All right.
He bless me.
All right.
And it goes like this. He blessed me. Sorry. Through all the pain, and he blessed me through all the rain. When Jesus heard my story, he blessed me. I knew that he would. He blessed me. He understood. He blessed me. I knew that he would. So I'm asking, please hold my hand and bless me, and every man take my hand and walk me through, 'cause I need you. I'm feeling so blue, but he blessed me with all this good. He blessed me. He understood. So, Jesus, please help me now. 'Cause Jesus, I don't know how, but he blessed me. So shine me high, 'cause he blessed me, and I don't know Why?
Yes, that was beautiful. Thank you, my queen.
Thank you.
We truly needed that. Thank you so much. We definitely appreciate you, and just keep
Thank
that
you.
beautiful voice going. And yeah, so I can only imagine your baby beautiful voice, because every time you sing, you gives me chills. So yes, keep singing, queen. And real quick, I want to go to you guys for closing comments, just for time's sake. And I also want to tell everybody I'm sorry, because we normally wrap up like close to 8. And I respect everybody's time, but we did start off a little bit late because we were having technical issues. So I want to check in with my sister Jamila for final comments, and I want to check in with my sister Nicole for final comments before we go to our sad letter. And I want to check in with Marcellus after the final comments for any final comments on the social media platform. So Jamila, Sister Queen, Jamila, do you have any final comments or questions?
No, I'm in tears right now, so amen. No, thank you so much. Anybody have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Okay, and so with that being said, I'm going to ask anybody on the West Coalition that's tuned in the queue in our green room, do any of you guys have any questions for our beautiful queen? Mic check.
Mic check. Yeah, I'd like to ask a question. Emmett Till and especially his mother played a really pivotal role in the beginnings and the inspiration of the civil rights movement. And as horrible as his lynching was, the rate of police killings today is about 4 times worse in terms of numbers, about 4 times worse than the rate of lynchings during the Jim Crow period.
Come on, educator, come on.
So but Emmett Till's case is a very important one. And so here's the question that I have. I'm trying to understand what accountability would look like at this point. I know there's the woman from the store that originally lied about him, that caused that racist, violent attack on him. So one aspect of accountability, I assume, is to finally get her prosecuted and incarcerated. I think she's still alive. But I'm wondering what other aspects of accountability can be fought for and would the family like to see?
From my perspective, I can't speak for the rest of the family, but I can only speak from what I've learned from Ali and what I've learned from Erica and what I've even learned from Mr. Willer. At this point, it was set an example. Like I spoke of the bills, the Anti-Lynching Act that would cause people to serve 30 years, or the George Floyd's Policing Act. It was set an example that the city, the different cities that are losing their families to police brutality, that maybe it will set an example that they will stop killing, or they will think about what they're doing before they do it. I mean, Carolyn Bryan Dunham is because if she hadn't opened her mouth, it will be a lesson of maybe you watch what you do, or watch what you say, or watch what you do to help to get these families killed. That's what it would do in accountability. It would have people to give a second thought. Should I pull this trigger? Or should I even have this gun in my possession when I know I have anger management? Or is it okay for me to put my knee on this man's neck and kill him? How many years am I going to do? I'm sure that fakeness with Dante's White, the Kimberly Potter, she thought those little fake tears that she cried in front of the media of how she felt like she knows she was finna go to jail. She knows she was finna do some time.
That's
she
right.
Didn't get the time she didn't get the time that she deserved.
Yeah, those tears were fake.
Consequences coming.
I agree. The tears were fake.
Say that again, Mr. Bill.
I say I agree. Those tears were fake.
Exactly. So my thing is, before these people commit these crimes, police department or the gang banging or whoever got a gun in their hand, because that's the problem. The gun and even the law that we have here under age of 18, you don't have to have a permit to carry. That's open Pandora's box. That'll give these criminals, criminal minds, a second thought of the consequences that's going to come to them when they pull that trigger, when they take somebody's life. And I believe that will be the accountability that will be served for this woman opening her mouth, causing Emmett Till's life to be taken, and think it's funny. It was a game to her. It seems to be still a game, because the same comment that she made, the same comment that her husband made at the end of the trial was, he glad it's over, is when the press came to her this go round, when the FBI dropped the case and it's closed and it cannot reopen. Her final comment was, she glad it's over.
Mm.
Disgusting.
Yeah, it is disgusting.
There you go.
All right, thank you.
Yes, thank you. So I'm gonna check in with our Queen Nicole. Do you have any final questions or comments or anything for our sister or anything you're adding to the conversation? Mic check. Is Nicole still on, or did she drop off? Her device might have died. All right, so I'm gonna go in with Marcellus to see if we have any final closing questions, comments before we go on to both of the sad lists. And tonight, guys, we have two sad lists: our local or community violence list, as well as our police brutality list. And unfortunately, I was told on the police brutality list, we have over 47 names, y'all. This shows you they are not stopping, they ain't easing up, they going in. They going in. So I'm gonna check in with our brother Marcellus. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check. Yeah, so we have a couple comments on Facebook. Nelson says, beautiful voice. Mic check. And AC Chris says, can Jamila remind everyone the name of her book? Mic check.
A counts, COUNTS, duty. Our father, Joseph Gregory Counts, married my mother, so I carry his last name. And it's on Amazon. You can find it on all different book. You can find it on Goodreads. You can find it on several book locations. Anybody that would like to get in contact with me can contact me on acounts, COUNTS, duty at yahoo.com. That's my email address.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And yeah, so again, I want to thank each and everybody for tuning in, and I want you guys to stay tuned, because again, we have to show respect for the families that have, gotten a phone call or got sad news at some point of the day that their loved one, who is the apple of their eye, is no longer here. So for all these victims, I want us to take 1 minute. If you pray, say a prayer. If you don't, just keep them in thought. Just imagine if it was your family. And it doesn't matter which list is on, the fact that it's on any list. You wouldn't care if it was a police brutality list, community violence. Your loved one is gone and your life has changed forever. But the only difference is when these killer cops kill us, we know who they are, we know what they did, and they hardly, if any, get any accountability. They don't get anything. They get pay raises. So it's just sad. So let's take 1 minute for time's sake, and we will go into both of those lists. But before we do, I want to first thank my queen sister Jamila. Keep bringing that flame, and you are welcome any and every time on Westwood. If you want to tune in every week, you can. So we love you,
Queen. I appreciate you, but let's not forget about Tyrone West while we are talking about other things. And the reason I stand in solidarity with you that we need accountability, and this woman, she needs to open her mouth and she needs to do better.
Amen. Thank you so
That's
much.
right.
I appreciate that with my whole entire heart. And Nicole must have dropped off because sometimes her phone or equipment might have died out, but definitely send a love and hope to her. We love you, Nicole. Hopefully you'll get to see this, and we love you. And Yeah, so let's take 1 minute, please. Mike,
Twanda,
yes.
did we want to check and see if anybody else online, besides our special guests, had any announcements or anything they wanted to put out?
Oh, yes, we could do that. Yes, and then we can go into the 1 minute of prayer and then go. Do anybody have any announcements or anything that they want to put out before we go into this? So thanks for that, Brother Brian. Do anybody have any last minute announcements or anything that we need to follow up with that you want to share? Mic check.
Mic check. This is Uncle Bill. Nothing to add tonight except that we should all dare to struggle and dare to win.
Right. Awesome. Okay. So it sounds like we're going to be taking our minute. All right. Mic check starting now. Thank you again. And Brother Brian, are you ready to read that sad, horrible list that changed family members, friends, lives forever? And the stroke of just sadness. It's just really sad. Mic check.
Mic check. I'm here, and just every week, so people know if they haven't been following us. I read off a list of the names of people here in Baltimore who have died of violence. There's a lot of times you hear, well, people are like, well, what about this? And what about the community violence? And what about black on black crime? And those people who say that, when I go to places like to like ceasefire or places like that, I don't see those people there. I see these people there, and we are always lifting up all victims of violence. And as Twana says, the emphasis we have on police violence is because that's unaccountable violence. But we want all we uphold all victims of violence and pray for an end to all violence. And so this week, I'd ask you to just say the names of these people after me. These are people who lost their lives to violence here in Baltimore between March 6th and March 12th. Juwan Hall, 25.
Juwan Hall, 25.
Darian Savoy, 26.
Darian Savoy, 26.
Timothy Brown Jr., 26.
Timothy Brown Jr., 26.
Marvin Pryor, 20.
Marvin Pryor,
20.
Olin Smith Jr., 39.
Olin Smith
Jr., 29.
29, excuse me.
Aaron Rashad Lee, 31.
Aaron Rashad Lee, 31.
Bryant Timmons, 26.
Bryant
Timmons, 26.
Charles Rubottom, 41.
Charles Rubottom, 41.
Deshaun Kearson, 36.
Deshaun Kearson, 36.
Thank you.
Thank you. And again, my heart goes out to these families. All I can say is our deepest heartfelt condolences. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. So now I'm going to turn it over to Uncle Bill for the sad police brutality long list. Mic check.
Mic check. Good evening. We have an amazing, horrible list of such a tremendous number of people whose lives were stolen by police. This list covers the time period from March the 7th to March 23rd, which is 16 days. In those 16 days, the police in the United States have killed, perhaps more, but as recorded by the Washington Post, they've killed 47 people. In some cases, the names of the victims are not yet identified, and I'll say Ashe to honor them. And Ashe means let it be so. And when I say let it be so, I mean not that their death be so, but that we sharpen the struggle for accountability against police violence. Ashe to that for each person. So on March the 7th, the first person killed by police on this evening's list was in Jasper, Tennessee, and they have not identified this person, Ashe.
Ashe.
In Colorado Springs on the same day, March 7th, 39 years old, killed by police, James Gregory.
James Gregory.
In Miami, Florida, on March the 8th, 34 years old, killed by police, Antoine Cooper.
Antoine
Cooper.
Antoine Cooper.
In Joplin, Missouri, also on March the 8th, 40 years old, killed by police, Anthony Felix.
Anthony Felix.
In
Anthony
Ackworth,
Felix.
I'm sorry. Thank you for repeating. In Ackworth, Georgia, on March the 9th, 35 years old, killed by police, Gabriel Rao.
Gabriel Rao.
Gabriel Rao.
March the 9th, in Brown City, Michigan, 47 years old, killed by police, Robert Raymond.
Robert
Raymond.
Again on March the 9th, in Clear Lake Shores, Texas, 46 years old, killed by police, William Weldon.
William Weldon.
In Covington, Tennessee, on March the 10th, 42 years old, Felix Tyler.
Felix Tyler.
Felix Tyler.
In Independence, Missouri, 39 years old, Tyria Pryor.
Tyria
Pryor.
In Dade County, Florida, on March the 11th, this person has not yet been identified, Ashe.
Ashe.
In Raymond, Mississippi, on March 11th, 38-year-old woman, Quentrice McAllister.
Quentrice McAllister.
In Decatur, Alabama, March the 12th, 33 years old, Nicholas Odin.
Nicholas Odin.
In Tucson, Arizona, on March the 12th, 17 years old, Zachariah Ibrahim.
Zachariah Ibrahim.
March the 12th, in Loganville, Georgia, 35 years old, William Parrott.
William Parrott.
In Phoenix, Arizona, March the 12th, 39 years old, Adam Vespoli.
Adam Vespoli.
Sonora, California, March the 12th, 51 years old, Fred Westmoreland.
Fred Westmoreland.
March the 12th, in Lauderdale County, Alabama, 44 years old, Paul Hardiman.
Paul Hardiman.
Killed by police in Palmdale, California, on March the 13th, not yet identified, Ashe.
Killer shops and cell blocks.
Thank you. In Pasco, Washington, March the 13th, Gabriel Arts.
Gabriel Arts.
In Albuquerque, New Mexico, on March the 14th, again unidentified, Ashe.
Killer cops and cell blocks.
All right, I'm glad to hear that. Crest Hill, Illinois, March the 14th, 30 years old, Matthew Parks.
Matthew Parks.
In Covington, Virginia, 42 years old, Tony Poulston.
Tony Poulston.
And we have 25 more names to honor still. March the 14th in San Antonio, Texas, 28 years old, Kevin Johnson.
Kevin Johnson.
Thank you. In Shorewood, Illinois, March the 14th, not yet identified, Ashe.
Killer cops and cell blocks.
In Spanaway, Washington, March the 15th, 40 years old, Jeremy Dayton. In Canton, Georgia, March the 15th, 47 years old, Jason Peterson.
Jason Peterson.
In Tacoma, Washington, on March the 16th, not yet identified, Ashe.
Ashe.
Killer cops and cell blocks. Ashe.
In Seattle, Washington, on March the 16th, not yet identified. Ashe.
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 In, I'm not sure how to pronounce the town, Bunter, MO, is it Montana or Missouri?
Montana, I think.
Okay, forgive me for not honoring you as fully as I would like and as accurately as I would like. 21 years old, killed by police, James Emery.
James Emery.
James Emery.
On March the 17th, in Lehigh Acres, Florida, unidentified. Ashe.
Ashe.
Justice for all victims. Ashe.
In Lake Mead, Nevada, March the 17th, 52 years old, Greg Davis.
Greg Davis.
Greg Davis.
March the 18th, in Loudoun County, Virginia, not yet identified. Ashe.
Justice for all victims.
Killer cops and cell blocks.
Louisville, Kentucky, on March the 18th, again, not yet identified. Ashe.
Ashe.
Justice for all victims. Ashe.
March the 18th, in Hutchinson County, Texas, 31 years old, Billy Mitchell.
Billy Mitchell.
Billy Mitchell.
Billy Mitchell.
Not far from us, in Dewey Beach, Delaware, on March the 19th, 21 years old, Rodney Robinson.
Rodney Robinson.
In Columbia, South Carolina, on March the 19th, 34 years old, Irvin Moorer Charlie.
Irvin Moorer Charlie.
Or Charlie.
In Albuquerque, New Mexico, on March the 19th, 33 years old, Colin, I hope I'm pronouncing the last name correctly, Nesassi.
Colin Nestasi.
On March the 19th, in Peoria, Arizona, 74 years old, Richard Scher.
Richard Scher.
Richard.
In Hanson County, South Dakota, March the 19th, not yet identified, Ashe.
Killer cops and cell blocks.
Ashe.
Cell blocks.
Great Falls, Montana, March the 19th, not yet identified, Ashe.
Killer cops and cell blocks.
Ashe.
Kalamazoo, Michigan, March the 20th, 33 years old, Nicholas Conklin.
Nicholas Conklin.
Conklin.
In Texarkana, Arkansas, on March the 21st, 30 years old, Michael Olson.
Michael Olson.
Olson.
In Tellico Plains, Tennessee, March the 21st, a 43-year-old woman, Jessica Shoverling.
Jessica Shoverling.
Jessica Shoverling.
In Gillette, Wyoming, on March the 21st, not yet identified, Ashe.
Justice for all victims. Ashe.
In Discovery Bay, California, on March the 22nd, not yet identified, Ashe.
Killer cops and cell blocks. Ashe.
In Chandler, Arizona, on March the 22nd, not yet identified, Ashe.
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 And the last of 47 victims of horrible police violence that we'll be honoring this evening and uplifting in Clayton County, Georgia, on March the 23rd, not yet identified, Ashe.
Killer cops and cell blocks. Ashe.
Fight the power, fight police brutality, smash racism.
Ashe.
Ashe. So again, I want to thank each and everybody for tuning in tonight. I want to thank Uncle Bill for that long, horrible, sad list, because that is like traumatizing just to read all those names and just to know that is 47 more families in a club that nobody signed up for. And then the community violence, that is 8 families that we know of, because I'm quite sure it's more than that. It's like enough is enough. So I'm praying. But again, like Uncle Bill said, dare to fight, dare to struggle. So we got to keep on fighting. And always, like Mel Reeves said, until we win. We got to keep on fighting until we win. It ain't no stopping until we win. And winning to me is making sure these killer cops are in cell blocks, and not only killer cops in cell blocks, but just on and all the victims. Anybody want to murder somebody and just walk away, just please keep in mind that you're not just killing your target, you're killing the whole family, you're killing friends, and everybody needs to be held accountable. You know, so it's just really sad. But again, I love you guys. Remember, live to love, love to live. I love you all. Until we win, we're going to keep on fighting. Cell blocks for killer cops. And I want to end on this note before we close out with the same video that we started. We will play part 2 of this video. But I just want to thank both of my special queens tonight, Miss Jamila and Miss Nicole. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. But just remember, we demand an answer. We will not stop until we get an answer. And because until we get accountability, we're never going anywhere. You're going to constantly see us all the time. So again, remember, live to love, love to live. I love you all. Mic check.
Mic check.
And Mr. West begging for his life, and Mr. Salam begging for his child to be excluded and comforted from what was taking place. Not for himself, but for his 3-year-old child.
Case number 4, Adina Britt and family, September 10th, 2015.
My name is Adina Britt, and I wanted to submit a 30-second testimonial that Jorge Omar Bernardez Ruiz is one of the 11 terrorists that came into my house performing a home invasion in September 2015, terrorizing my entire family and even holding my 12-year-old son at gunpoint. He needs to be stopped.
Case number 5, unidentified arrestee, assaulted in 2016.
I suggest you back the fuck up.
No, why you
Again, this video did not surface until the summer of 2020. Case 6, Thomas McCullough, May 2016 and February 2017.
I heard my front door coming off the hinges like it exploded.
Thomas McCullough says it happened twice. In May 2016 and February 2017, Baltimore City Police burst through his green front door and raided his Pimlico home.
They said, police. They come up, shotguns, guns.
He says officers ransacked the place, looking for drugs, money, and weapons. He took pictures of the damage he says they left behind.
Tell us where the drugs are, the scales, the guns, and the large amounts of money.
Nothing was found. Now he's suing police, claiming officers, including a former member of the Gun Trace Task Force, frightened him, his wife, and father-in-law when the officers conducted what his suit calls an illegal search of his home. The owner of the house tells 11 News after the second raid, he had to replace the front door. McCullough and his attorney say they want Baltimore police held accountable.
There is a colossal breach of trust.
And McCullough tells us following both raids, no one was arrested or charged.
This all begs the question, When will Baltimore City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby see the prosecution of Bernardez Ruiz as warranted?
They were the stopping officers in these so-called jump out cars, unmarked and so forth, that stopped both the West vehicle and the Salam vehicle without probable cause. And these officers are the ones that also were joined by others, but they are the ones who initiated the stops, pulled both men out of the vehicles, and commenced the vicious activity that was thrust upon them.
And the Officer Ruiz that started this attack is still working and working with promotions. He is now sergeant. But the fact that this repeat violent offender had a history leading up to my brother. There was Darrell Harris, there was James Green, Joseph Green, Abdul Salam, and my sister Adina and her family. No one family deserves to be brutally murdered or brutalized by this repeat violent offender Ruiz. It is time we take action. The time is now.
Baltimore police officer Jorge Bernardez Ruiz is a repeat violent offender. Based on these accounts, in accordance with the law, we, the West Coalition, call for him to be fired, prosecuted, and incarcerated.
We're more than hashtags and body bags. We're more than being 6 feet in the dirt and pictures and buttons on t-shirts. Our lives matter.
For the safety of our city, the prevention of further harm, and the justice for these families, we see no other option.
And again, I'll say, the time is now.
Mic check. Ben, you still on?
Good question. Ben, are we off the air?
Let me look and see. 1 second. Apparently we're still on, so let me get myself.
You say we are off, Twana?
No, we still on.
Ah.